Hello guys, we are going to talk about a mystery thriller film called Haunter from 2013. A lot of interesting things are waiting for you. Lisa wakes up on a gloomy morning on the eve of her birthday. It's 1985, and the teenager's house is inexplicably shrouded in fog. It turns out that Lisa has been stuck in a time loop for a long time, and only she realizes that the same day keeps repeating itself. Lisa's parents and little brother Robbie don't notice anything. Every day, her mother, named Carol, makes her daughter do the laundry. She also has to listen to her father, named Bruce, trying to fix the car. Sometimes Lisa tries to explain to the family that they are all stuck in this house, but every time such conversations end in a scandal. But one day, the usual things change abruptly when she finds a mysterious locked door in the basement, from where a suspicious sound is coming. At night, Lisa notices a shadow and hears someone's footsteps, which lead her to the attic. The door suddenly slams shut, causing Lisa to be frightened and run away to her room. The next day, she finds an old videotape that shows her family moving into the house. In one of the shots, she notices an unusual dark silhouette in the window of the house. Lisa assumes that the house is haunted, and she tries to make contact with it. But when she does get a response, the lights suddenly start flashing, and a shadow appears behind her. Frightened, she goes downstairs to the kitchen, where she notices that the time loop, which consists of the same events, begins to change. For example, her father suddenly starts smoking, and her mother sees nothing strange in this, even though he has never held a cigarette in his life. In the evening, Bruce starts to behave very rudely, and talks to his daughter in a way he has never spoken to her before. At night, the ghost continues to haunt her. And when a new day comes, Lisa realizes that everything has changed completely. The bottom line is that Bruce is behaving very aggressively. In the morning, he makes a scene, accusing Carol of breaking the car so that he can't fix it. The family quarrel is interrupted by the appearance of a stranger who introduces himself as a telephone company employee. When Lisa is alone with him, he makes it clear to her that he is aware that her family is stuck in a time loop. He strongly recommends that she stop trying to contact anyone. If she disobeys, her loved ones will suffer. At this point, Lisa learns that in fact her entire family is dead. But most importantly, she needs to keep this information a secret, and it's starting to drive her crazy. In the evening, she even tries to ride her bike as far away from the cursed house as possible, but inexplicably comes back. The next night, another girl appears in Lisa's bed. When she touches her, the girl wakes up and asks Lisa to save her. It turns out that the stranger's name is Olivia, and she now lives in the same house that Lisa lived in 1985. Olivia advises them to look for answers under the floor. In the room, Lisa disassembles part of the floor and discovers an album with newspaper clippings. From them, she learns that a huge number of girls have been murdered over the course of several decades, and the identity of the serial killer has never been established. In the album, Lisa also finds a key that opens the same door in the basement. There, she discovers a huge oven with an unknown girl in it. Suddenly, the stove bursts into flames, and the frightened Lisa runs away. She goes to a family dinner, which is suddenly interrupted by a phone call. Lisa picks up the phone, and the telephone repairman tells her that she is disobeying him and continues to mind her own business. He says that this is actually his house. The man demands that she not open the door, which is locked. In response to his threats, the girl tells him that she is already dead, and he cannot do anything to her. At that very moment, Lisa sees an imaginary friend of her brother's named Edgar. She recognizes him as a younger version of the stranger. He shows the girl that he can still hurt her if she does not obey him. Her entire family suddenly turns out to be dead, and Lisa is left alone. She begs him to return everything to the way it was, because she is afraid of loneliness more than anything else. After a while, everything returns to the way it was before. Lisa now tries to ignore everything that is happening in the house, but then she notices Olivia in the reflection. She uses the mirror to move into her body. She finds herself in reality, the modern world, and a new version of her house in the room. She finds a printout of an old newspaper article that says that Lisa's family was found dead in this house. The massacre happened in 1985 when the whole family was poisoned by carbon monoxide in the house. Lisa meets Olivia's family members and learns that the neighbor has a younger sister who is fond of video games. It turns out that Olivia's father, David, is also gradually going crazy, and he can't get his car fixed. When he snaps at his daughter, Lisa is transported back to the afterlife. She realizes that her father's obsession with car repairs is no coincidence, because Olivia's father behaves in much the same way. Lisa tries to talk to Olivia again through the mirror, but to no avail. Then she goes back to the dungeon, where she finds the remains of the dead girls. Suddenly, the door ahead closes, and after a long and exhausting stay in the dark, Lisa finds the ring. Then she discovers a chimney, through which she manages to get out into the garage. There she meets a girl who is struggling to get out. It turns out that this stranger's name is Frances, and she is Edgar's first victim. She is also a captive and thinks she is still alive, but Lisa explains to the girl that she has been dead for a long time. She urges Frances to wake up. To do this, she gives her back the thing that belonged to her when she was alive. But then the killer grabs Frances by the hand and drags her into the fog, and Lisa wakes up in her own world. After a while, she finally realizes what exactly happened in 1985. It turns out that Bruce killed his entire family. Lisa goes to Robbie's room and realizes that the boy knows the truth too. The family must stay in the house because Edgar said so. Lisa goes back to her room and establishes a connection with Olivia. She inhabits her body again and tries to save her family by leaving a message on her arm, "Leave the house." Then Lisa finds a message from Olivia on her tablet and learns that a certain Edgar, a serial killer who was never caught for many years, used to live in this house. He killed girls in his house until he died in 1983. Then Lisa's family moved into the house. Olivia says her father has changed a lot, and her mother tries to ignore it. The bond between the girls was established when Olivia found Lisa's necklace in the garage. Then she hears David's screams and sees events that are similar to what happened in her house. Olivia's furious father is looking for a stolen car part. Lisa intervenes in the quarrel and sees that Edgar has moved in with David. The girl tries to convince Olivia's mother that they must leave the house immediately, but Edgar takes the initiative. Lisa then runs outside, where the real world continues to exist, and there is no fog. She calls for help from the neighbors, but suddenly faints as soon as she crosses the invisible line. Since Lisa is actually a ghost, she cannot exist outside the house. Edgar explains to her that she is trapped and will never be able to leave the house. When Lisa regains consciousness, she sees her mother in front of her. It turns out that Carol has also regained consciousness, as has Robbie. She tells them that she realized they were in danger and tried to get the children away from the crazy man, but unfortunately, she didn't have time. Lisa convinces her mother that they need to help their father remember everything. She goes to the garage and tells Bruce that he actually knows where the tools he needs are. The point is that he hid the very moment he realized he was going crazy from himself. Lisa makes him fix the car and get it running. At this point, Bruce remembers everything he has done. It turns out that he put his family to sleep, took them to the garage, and started the engine. As a result, they all suffocated from carbon monoxide from the exhaust system. But in fact, Bruce is not to blame, because he was possessed by the ruthless Edgar, and it was he who forced the man to kill his family in the first place. Finally, they all remember the past. The house suddenly begins to collapse. They get outside, where the sun begins to shine through the fog. The family heads toward the light, but Lisa decides to stay, realizing that she is the one who must stop Edgar and save Olivia's family. Lisa travels back in time to when Edgar lived in the house. It turns out that a very young psychopath killed his parents. Lisa then gets in touch with Olivia, and she manages to inhabit her body again. At this very moment, her father has finally lost his mind and is about to kill his family. The girl hides from him under the bed. When the madman leaves, she goes to the basement and breaks down the wall, going down into the dungeon. There she finds objects that belong to Edgar's victims. With the help of them, she tries to get in touch with the girls and asks them all to wake up. She realizes that only together they can defeat the enemy. At this point, David jumps on her. She comes to in the car. She uses a lighter to free her hands, and just then her father brings their youngest daughter into the garage. Then he gets behind the wheel and starts the engine. But suddenly Lisa starts strangling him with her seatbelt. She pulls out the key and runs outside. Then she throws the keys away so that Edgar's ghost can't get to them. But it turns out that there are spare keys in David's house. Edgar attacks Lisa and begins to strangle her. Francis suddenly appears and takes Edgar to another dimension, where the frightened psychopath is surrounded by the ghosts of the people he killed. They grab him and then burn him in an oven, after which Edgar goes straight to hell. David regains consciousness and asks his daughter, "What happened?" Lisa tells him everything, and he realizes that he almost made a terrible mistake. Then the girl in the reflection says goodbye to Olivia and goes to bed. When she wakes up, she thinks for a second that the time loop is still going on. But then Robbie says on the radio, "I have a present for her birthday, which has finally arrived." Her parents give her a new bike and invite their daughter to go outside and ride it. Lisa asks what is behind the door. Bruce answers, "Behind the door is anything you want." Lisa opens the door and sees a light.